And welcome back to Hoops Lounge. This is Marc Griffin, aka Montreal Marc. I'm joined by Phil Boileau, Sporting Phil, and this is probably my favorite episode of the year. This is the season preview award show 2015-2016. Can't get here soon enough. Phil, before we dive into it, I want to make a quick, homage to Flip Saunders, who passed away yesterday, a longtime member of the NBA community. The outgoing support I've seen on Twitter and throughout social media, it seems like people, fans, everyday people, and players alike, everyone just loved this guy.
Oh no, absolutely. He was a main part in a lot of people's hearts. A great coach, great guy, and 60 years old. What can you say? It took one of the good ones too soon. So this season, he's definitely going to be in the hearts of a lot of players and coaches, and I know that whole Minnesota Timberwolves team.
Yeah, and I think he'll be part of the narrative for this team going into the future, because he really assembled these guys from. I mean, he brought in KG in '95, and he brought in Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and all these guys. So his legacy with basketball started in Minnesota over 40 years ago, and I think it's just going to keep going and going. And so rest in peace, Flip, and I'm sure this season will very much be dedicated to him. So let's dive into our awards. We're going to start out with the standard awards, and then going to throw a few, let's say, curveball Hoops Lounge awards going into the season. So let's start, Phil, with Coach of the Year. I want your pick. Let's see who you got.
This is going to be a bit of a weird one. I actually think because of injuries, a lot of teams in the East are going to do a bit worse than they hoped for. I think one team this is a bit of an on the edge, because I think hopefully we're going to have a Rose sighting, but I'm actually going to go Fred Hoiberg in this one. I think he's going to get some good production out of Portis, their new draft pick, out of McBuckets. I think some players returning. Jimmy Butler has been growing as a player, and I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that it's really going to work out well, and he's going to get a lot of conversation. I know some of the bigger names are going to splash around, but Fred Hoiberg, for me, is my dark horse Coach of the Year.
Wow, I mean, it's really rare that a rookie wins Coach of the Year. I think it's actually only happened twice. The first year of the NBA, and then last year was Steve Kerr. So that's a very bold pick.
Well, there is precedent, so at least I have that.
Well, I mean, I didn't see that one coming at all, and I don't know if he's in the same caliber as Steve Kerr, but I mean, the season will show. He's got a lot of parts to deal with there. I got another kind of dark horse myself. First off, I have to say I think Greg Popovich should probably win this award every year. He's like Michael Jordan, he's the MVP who just doesn't get MVP because everybody's like, you know what, he's great. We'll just try to give it to someone else. I'm going with Alvin Gentry, who is back in the coaching sphere after being an associate with associate with Golden State, but was a coach with Phoenix at the waning years with Steve Nash. I think he will turn Anthony Davis into a superhuman Terminator, as our friend Justin Rowland likes to say. He's just going to exterminate a lot of people throughout the season, and he's really going to harness everything that is Anthony Davis from the three-point line inward, both offensively and defensively, and I think he's really going to help turn that franchise around. So I got Alvin Gentry. Let's keep going then. Number 2, let's go to Rookie of the Year. Who you got?
Rookie of the Year, listen, there's a lot of big guys who went at the top of the draft. I understand. Karl Anthony Towns, love him as a player, love him as a human being even more. Jahlil Okafor, he's on a terrible team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Listen, with me, when it comes to Rookie of the Year, I look at who's going to touch the ball. And so right away, I'm looking at Denver. I'm looking at Emmanuel Mudiay. The guy is going to start. They got rid of Ty Lawson. He is the man running the point. We saw this happen. There is precedence with Michael Carter-Williams with Philadelphia. Doesn't necessarily have to shoot the greatest percentage. He's going to get the rock. He's going to get rebounds, going to get assists. I think Emmanuel Mudiay, while it may not be the prettiest, I think he's going to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he was actually my backup. I'm actually going with Karl Anthony Towns. What we saw from him during the preseason, he's blown me away. I got to interview him last week. I'm working on a feature article about him. Like you said, great player, even better human being. This kid can play. He's so patient with the ball, and since he's got Kevin Garnett now to mentor him, I think going into the season, he is just going to blow people away completely. He plays like he's been playing in the NBA for 10 years, and to see a rookie, especially a big man like that, is just a rare, rare treat. I think he's a strangely an underrated first pick in the draft, and he's really going to turn a lot of eyes this season. I think he's going to actually run away with Rookie of the Year. Okay, let's go to the next one, sixth man. Phil, who you got?
Sixth man of the year. This one came a little bit strange for me, and I know people are going to hate on it, but I'm actually going to stay in Toronto with Mr. Joseph, from the six. I think this was a great pickup. I think he's going to score a bit more than we think. They're going to need some bench production, and I don't know if Norman Powell quite yet is ready to give that. I think his ability to play the point, we saw in the preseason, they play 2 point guard sets sometimes. I think he's going to be able to get you that kind of 12 to 15 points on an efficient level, get you something like 4 or 5 assists, and play some great backup point guard. And you know what, Kyle Lowry, while he's in fantastic shape, isn't always immune to the injury bugs. We could see some starting role. And I know six-man, you have to come off the bench, but I think he's going to have that overall play. There's a lot of great guys out there, but again, I'm a dark horse. We're going Joseph.
Well, I'm going to keep along that. That's a really interesting pick. We got to see the Raptors play this week actually twice, and Corey Joe is very much a leader off that bench. I like how there's really very little drop off. He just kind of keeps rolling, and that's kind of a tribute to Popovich, by the way. He's just coming out of that system. I also went with a point guard. I'm going with Dennis Schroeder from Atlanta. Who's very much breaking out last season, and he's going to have more minutes this year. They very much do a rotation based under Coach Bud there in Atlanta, and actually having lost DeMar Carroll means there's going to be more buckets to go around for this team, and the way he played for Germany this past summer, I think he's really going to step into more of a leadership role. He's a really talented, level-headed guy, and a skateboarder, by the way. I think he's really just going to keep growing as an NBA guy, and I think he's going to get six man. Number 4, let's go to Defensive Player of the Year.
For me, there were a lot of ways I wanted to go this way. Listen, I know you're Kawhi love. I know I've always been a big Serge Ibaka guy. I think Dwight Howard could have a comeback year, but I really think that after the offseason DeAndre Jordan had, with all the garbage that went on, with all the, the Cinderella decisions with the Dallas Mavs, I think DeAndre Jordan is wanting to prove himself as a legit player, defensive player of the year. I thought he might have been a bit robbed in the past. I think he's going to be there. And I think, as we saw in some of the other previews, the Clippers are bound to be one of the best regular season teams this year with the depth and the talent they have. I think DeAndre Jordan can play a huge part in that, and I think that's why he gets my defensive player of the year.
Interesting. I think DeAndre is really talented on D, but I just don't know about the chemistry, especially between him and Chris Paul. There just seems to be that animosity there. I went with Kawhi Leonard, and you know what? I said this bluntly last year. I don't think he deserved it last year. I don't think he played enough games. I think he missed 18 to 22, 25 games, and he really wasn't himself till March. He got a ton of second and third place votes, and that basically won him the award. This year he's healthy. He's going to be more dominant. He continues to grow as a 22, 23-year-old. Actually, I think he's almost 24 now. And now the fact that they have LaMarcus Aldridge to really take on 20 and 10 a game, he doesn't have to necessarily do that on the offensive end, so he can concentrate more on D and really playing defensively from the 1 to 4 position. I think he's really going to relish that role, being a secondary option on offense probably. So he's going to really be putting energy into D, and I think he's really, really going to deserve it this time around on the defensive end. Let's keep going. Number 4, General Manager, GM of the Year.
You know what? I'm going to stay hometown again. I'm saying Masai Ujiri, and it's not because of the big names. I know San Antonio and other teams have landed bigger fish in the pond, but I think it's the small pieces. Again, playing off my Joseph role, again, Bismack Biyombo, other players, DeMar Carroll, who you just mentioned in the Dennis Schroeder kind of argument. I think while they didn't land the big fish and the big names, they're the guys who can make it work. They got every glue player that they needed, and on the super cheap. And let's not forget, this is coming off the back of the Bargnani trade, where they're going to get the Knicks pick. So there's a bit more coming through the woodwork, and I think they're getting a lot of value coming forward. Listen, some bigger names are out there, but I think if you take together what it costs to do what they did and the cap room that they've saved going forward, I have to say Masai Ujiri.
I like that pick. I actually went with R.C. Buford for three reasons. Getting Kawhi Leonard to delay signing his contract so that he could bring in the biggest fish of all, Marcus Aldridge. So getting those two, and then talking about super cheap, getting David West for basically like the steal of the century, minimum. That's minimum for a really amazing guy who used to be an all-star locker room guy, role player who's going to play a big role for them, probably as a sixth man, seventh man off the bench. RC does it, better than anyone else in the league, and Masai is not much lower beyond that. These are two of the best GMs in the league by far. Number six now. Let's go with most improved player.
The most improved player to me, this is a bit of a sneaky one, but I don't think it's even close. I think it's Jabari Parker of the Bucks. I think he came in, he played well, but he got injured. And I think if you look at this team, they're going to need some scoring on his behalf. They have Chris Middleton, they have Greg Monroe, but I think that Jabari Parker is going to be a guy that is really going to be counted on to score a lot of buckets. And because of that, he's going to be the most improved. I mean, listen, he only did what he did for a small sample size. Improving on that can't be that hard.
It's really rare that a second-year guy gets most improved, but, he kind of has the Blake Griffin situation where he didn't very much play that first year.
Absolutely.
So could be interesting for him. I was going to go with Rudy Gobert, which is kind of the guy everyone's on their radar, but he had a bit of a slow start this season, so I had some question marks there. I still think he's going to blow up at some point, but I'm going to go off the radar. This is because I really do believe in Mike Malone as a coach. I'm going to go with Kenneth Faried, who said he's going to just play defense and focus more on both ends of the court this year. He's going to bring his energy level back up. I mean, last year under Brian Shaw, it just did not work. And I think that with this new culture that Mike Malone's bringing in, it's really going to help the Manimal come back and revamp his career. So I'm going with Kenneth Faried. MVP, Phil, who do you got as the best player in the league?
The MVP, you know what? I'm again going on an incredible limb. This is a team that not only do I think most teams don't, fans don't even have making the playoffs, who I think could, as the more I watch them sneakily do. But look at his stats last year. One of the most underrated guys who put up the numbers he does, DeMarcus Cousins of the Sacramento Kings.
Huh. Oh, wow, man. I didn't see that one coming. I mean, the guy can ball. And when he has his head on...
I think if he can take those Kings to that 8th spot, you really have to start looking at that team and looking at that player. Look at the numbers he put. Look at his improvements on defense, his incredible efficiency on offense, and he's learning to become more of a leader and more of a mature player. All those things combined, that's why I'm DeMarcus Cousins.
If you look at his first month of the season last year when Mike Malone was still coaching there, he was like 25, 10, and 5, something like that. He was insanely good.
And he doesn't have the competition, right? Like Kevin Durant has Westbrook, LeBron James has Kyrie and Love. If it's Cousins, it's Cousins. I mean, he's not going to lose the award because Rudy Gay had a great year, right? Right.
That's a good point. And that's one reason why I couldn't actually go with Kevin Garnett or Russell Westbrook. I thought they kind of canceled each other out. Staying big, I actually picked for my MVP. I went with Anthony Davis. I think he's going to take a tremendous leap and just become the best guy in the league. LeBron, face it, he's 30, 31. He's on a decline. Steph continues to rise, but in different ways. But I really think Anthony Davis is just kind of on that precipice of just this being his league altogether. And like I said, he's getting crazy scary now that he hits the three-pointer. He's just going to continue to grow, and hopefully he stays healthy, knock on wood. But I really do think this is going to become his league. Okay, so now we're going to go into the last segment where we have our Hoops Lounge Awards. These ones, I'm a bit of a curveball. I haven't told Phil about any of these, so they're going to be kind of on the fly for him.
These are my favorite picks.
So there's going to be a few of them, and then we'll wrap up with our NBA Finals picks. So this award is called the 50. It's for the guy who's most unlikely to score 50 points in an NBA game this season. I am going to go with Derrick Rose, who, despite all his ups and downs, all of the injuries, he still has that ability to have crazy nights. I think he'll pull out some magic here and there and have at least a 150-point game this year.
Ooh, 50-point game. So we're talking about a guy who's going to score 50, who no one saw this one coming.
Exactly.
I'm going Danilo Gallinari of the Nuggets.
Good call.
I think his ability to come in, be healthy, attack the basket, hit his free throws, hit threes, and that team is gonna need points. Danilo Gallinari for me.
Yeah, and especially in that mountain air. I mean, you can pull off something special, especially when the other teams are huffing and puffing and you're used to it. Gallo's he's great. He's on a great comeback there. Next one up is our Bynum Gang Award for the Bynum Gang are guys basically who leave a black cloud on every team they play for. Just things just not go when they arrive in that locker room. This year, I've got for our Bynum Gang leader, Lance Stevenson, who is going to be playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. I just see things just not going to go well for them there.
Well, and that is quite the poison pill for a team that's supposed to do really, really well. You know what? I have a few guys who I want to say, but I'm actually going to give on the same team the co-winner award. This is not going to be a popular pick. One to Meta World Peace, and the second to Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the shared award to those two. They somehow will not be able to utilize the vast amount of rookie talent around them and find a way to ruin that whole thing. And they will completely miss the playoffs, unfortunately, even though I think this team has a lot of talent and a lot of possibilities.
Okay, next up we have the Rodney Dangerfield award for the guy who gets no respect in the league. No respect. Guys who could be all-stars, should be all-stars, should be on the posters, but they're not getting it. This year I got Derek Favors, who is one of those guys who in Utah puts up great numbers, but they're in a small market team. He's got Rudy Gobert getting all the acclaim and fame, and he's a solid guy and on the up and coming. So I think Derek Favors is a real deal Rodney Dangerfield.
I like that one. I'm actually going to go with, and I don't know if this qualifies, so I'll let you be the judge. But we've been talking about these Philadelphia 76ers, and we've been talking about trying to get Joel Embiid. They just got another center in Jahlil Okafor. I'm actually going to call Nerlens Noel. When you look at his preseason, look at his steal rate, his blocks, his everything. I think Nerlens Noel is going to be one of these dirty guys. And you know what? If he sneaks into that Defensive Player of the Year conversation, I wouldn't be that surprised. It's exactly his place, and I think he doesn't get enough respect only because they've drafted two players in consecutive years to replace him at his position.
Yeah, and on a side note, people are talking about Noel, how he has the possibility to get 2.5 blocks and 2.5 steals this year. And
he's incredibly nimble for a big guy. Incredibly nimble.
These are sister steals, and it's Hakeem Olajuwon's the only guy in league history who's ever done that since they started recording those stats in the early 70s. So he's got the opportunity to do something that's been rarely been done. So that's actually a really good pick there. This is a brand new award I'm going to throw at you, Phil. I'm going to call this the Lazarus Award. It's a guy who's risen from the dead. Yes, I got a biblical term thrown in there. It's for a guy who's either been injured, who's just old, or he's been playing overseas or in the D-League, and finally he's just kind of gotten a shot again to be back in the NBA and find himself again, have another good season when everyone left him for dead. So this year, I got for our Lazarus Award, I got Wesley Matthews, who he tore his Achilles, and I'm gonna be honest here. If you look at the history over the years, the guys who've torn their Achilles, Dominique Wilkins is really one of the few outliers who actually came back and was anything like what he was before. All these guys like Kobe, Chauncey Billups, they just aren't able to be, I guess, springy on the court and be, I guess, athletic, to be honest. And so I think Wesley Matthews, with the combination of his work ethic, his mental strength, mental toughness, and just going at it, I think he's going to be at 29, be able to recover from this and be a really vital factor for the Mavs here. I'm hearing he's already a big strength in the locker room already, and I just think he's going to be something special again. So I got him as the Lazarus Award.
I like that one, and there are a lot of players that I really thought of right away. But then, you know what? The one player I went to, and I was like, you know what, this guy, if there's anyone who can turn it around, I think, and I may get some haters, is Roy Hibbert of the Los Angeles Lakers. I think Roy Hibbert, people have been hating on this guy lately. He's 7'2", former, defensive stalwart, making $15.5 million this year, and he's 28 years old. I think if the Lakers have any chance of doing anything, he can rise from the dead, be that defensive anchor next to a Julius Randle who can roam and score, because this team is young and they're going to need someone to funnel the ball to in terms of defense, be able to protect them. And I think if Roy Hibbert ever wants a chance to maximize his career and take advantage of this new salary cap structure, this is going to be the big year for him. Plus, he gets to play with Kobe Bryant. So if Kobe Bryant's not going to motivate you, and playing in LA won't, and all that money won't, nothing will.
Yeah, and he's got D'Angelo Russell and a bevy of young guys, really, like Larry Nance Jr.,
Clarkson, a whole bunch of
guys. They got a pile of young picks there. Okay, so let's wrap up with we'll pick our two NBA final teams from the East and West, and then afterwards we'll pick our champion. I got coming out of the East, Cleveland. As long as they're healthy, LeBron still remains just kind of barely the best player in the league. These guys are catching up to him soon, and of course you got to mention Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, hopefully healthy, and then finally Tristan Thompson re-signed. So they got the band back together, and I think with that continuity, they're going to do really well this season. And on the Western Front, despite what everyone is talking about, I'm picking the Memphis Grizzlies, who 80% of the year were the second best team in the league.
Years.
80% of the year they were the second best team in the league until the tail end of the season. Everything kind of fell apart. Mike Conley broke down. Marc Gasol was gassed. These guys, I know they're older, but they play really well together. Marc and Conley are both at the top of their games in their prime. They got a great coach. They got a great system. And I have a feeling it's going to be their year to finally get to the finals. Who are your two finalists?
Well, as much as I want to agree with you and say Backstreet's back with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm going to stick with my original Justin Rowan hating decision of the Miami Heat. I really, I don't look, I can't prove it. I understand LeBron James is the best player in this conversation. I understand Kyrie Irving is an up-and-coming player. I understand that Kevin Love looks fantastic in shape, is playing well. Tristan's motivated. Iman Shumpert's injured, but he's coming back. But there's just something that with these Miami Heat, when you look at Dwayne Wade and Goran Dragic, I trust that backcourt. There's no ego here. Luol Deng, Winslow, I like that. I like Gerald Green. He's been playing fantastic again. And you look at that front court. You look at Whiteside. You look at Bosch. Bosch had a whole year to get healthy. I mean, look, he had his blood clot, but his entire body. He's been hurt with little injuries for years. This is probably the first time he's going to be fully healthy in a long time. Hassan Whiteside's playing for a contract in this huge salary cap era. He was a monster last year. He was kind of neck and neck with Rudy Gobert in a lot of ways. And then you have Josh McRoberts and a motivated Amari Stoudemire in a great role. I like that team. I like the depth, and I just like the storyline of the Heat dethroning the King. So that is the Eastern Conference. In the West, I'm actually going to go for the Thunder. I think the Thunder look fantastic this year. They look motivated, strong. They're deep. They signed Enes Kanter. Was that the best call? Maybe not, but they have DJ Augustine, great backup point guard. They have depth and size at every position. They're motivated. Do they figure out the Westbrook Durant thing? Because that's always the question. Who knows? But I think even if they don't fully, they'll be good enough. Look, you have two of the top 5 best players in the league. I think Billy Donovan, who hasn't come up in this conversation, is going to be a fantastic coach. I think it's a great opportunity for him. Steven Adams with the long hair and he don't care is looking motivated. And this team just has talent top to back. Look, every team can have injuries and that can derail you, but we're assuming they stay mainly healthy, and I think OKC is motivated. And I think it's going to be really interesting because in my predictions, we're having LeBron James sitting at home watching Kevin Durant versus Dwayne Wade in the NBA Finals. Yeah,
that would. I don't think he'd be very happy about that. So let's pick our winner of the ring, Lord of the Rings. I'm going with Cleveland. I think LeBron kind of knows in the back of his head that this may be his last year of his prime. And to see how he just put everything on the floor in the finals last year, and now he's getting back injections. We're seeing some frailty from him, and I think he's going to, slowly kind of, let's say, evolve into that Magic Johnson point forward role that Magic had in the tail end of his careers, and let Kyrie and Kevin, these other guys, do more of the scoring. He's going to be more of a distributor. And I think he'll this year have to kind of lay back on the defensive end like he did last year and kind of conserve his energy to the playoffs. But he also knows, in terms of his legacy, he has to win a title with Cleveland and bring this city a title it hasn't had in decades and decades. And this weighs on his mind. And to be honest, I think this may be the end of the window for him this year. So I think it's going to be a really special moment for him to do that for the city and for his career and for his teammates. And it's going to be a tough road. I think it may go 7 games, grinding it out against the Grizz, who also very much want to bring an elusive title to that neck of the woods. So I think it's going to be an awesome NBA Finals. Hopefully injuries don't take a damper on this season. But yeah, I got the King bringing the title back to Cleveland.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the idea of windows closing, because that's exactly the storyline behind my winner, which are the OKC Thunder. I think there's been a lot said that, this experiment, quote-unquote, between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant may be at the end if they don't start adding some hardware to their repertoire. And what's more, I guess, disheartening for Cleveland fans in my predictions is Cleveland actually loses to the Heat, who then lose to the Thunder. So there's actually quite the big gap between the two. But I think in terms of teams that are motivated, I don't think there's a team that's more motivated than the Thunder right now. I think Cleveland is, but I think the Thunder just have, for so many years, have been that one injury away. That I understand last year with Cleveland. I understand all this. It's just they're young, motivated, and there's something about watching them play in this preseason. They look stronger than ever. These are no longer kids. These are men. And they're motivated. They they attack with aggression. Look, when the playoffs slow down and you have to play, a little bit more isolation basketball, having the two of the best in the game in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, with two of the best rebounders in Adams and Ibaka, with a guy like Cantor. It's just they can throw so many looks at you. They're young. They're huge. It's just custom made for today's modern NBA. And don't forget, if they want to run in the playoffs against a faster team like Golden State, well, they just play Ibaka at center and they play 6'11" Kevin Durant at power forward. I mean, there are so many looks they can throw at you that I think and I think they're finally going to be healthy. My champions for this year are the OKC Thunder.
Well, that's it. I mean, we got it on tape here. I'm glad there's quite diversity in what you and I are both saying. It just speaks to how much talent there is in the league now. I just wanted to say, everyone, this is going to be an amazing season once again. We didn't really get to talk a lot about Golden State. It seems like they're kind of going to be knocked off the top of the pile this year. So I wanted to tell people, be sure to check out our website, hoopslounge.com. We're on Facebook too, Twitter as well. You can use #HoopsLounge. Phil, did you want to mention anything as we wrap up?
Oh, just as always, make sure to look for a lot of our new formats. We're going to be trying, as you're hearing right here, audio podcasts, along with our usual videos in some cool creative ways, and bringing on lots of interesting writers to bring you the written look. So the trifecta of Hoops Loungeness in terms of media coming your way. And as always, you can join us on social media. We'll have all the credentials in the description below. So please continue the conversation, because that's why we do what we do. And we invite you, as always, to keep it in the lounge.